Hey folks, this is Mark Kelly. Today's edition of Drink and Drive Traffic brought to you from Inbound Revenue. I have known Inbound Revenue, right there it is. We're a Google Ads agency. We provide white label Google Ads to agencies. And today, on today's Drink and Drive Traffic, which I should explain, is, as far as I know, the only marketing video podcast that pairs marketing discussions with an excellent adult beverage. So it's the only video podcast that I know of that discusses marketing where the host gets funnier as the video goes along. Okay, so today's adult beverage is one of my personal favorites. It's a red wine from South Africa called Goats du Rhum. Goats du Rhum. Anyone that's familiar with French wines knows that that's a play off Côtes du Rhône, Goats du Rhum. And there's another one called Goats du Rhum in Villages, another play on a French wine. Let me try this, though. We're wasting time here. I'm wasting time. Let me give this a try. Okay. Goats du Rhum, a beautiful red from South Africa. Peppery. I like it. Today I'm going to talk to you about PPC pricing models as I drink my adult beverage. PPC pricing models they're fairly straightforward in general, what agencies charge for PPC, but there's a lot of variation in them, and I'm going to try to get into some of that with you today. So the basic PPC pricing model for agencies is what I would say is a flat rate plus percentage of ad spend. It's not one that we typically use, but we do in some cases. A flat rate or a percentage of ad spend is often, sometimes they just do percentage of ad spend. So let's talk about it from that perspective first. Percentage of ad spend is basically you're just going to charge somewhere between 10 and 20% of the client's ad spend on a monthly basis. And you're going to charge, let's say they spend $2,000, you're going to charge them $200 if you charge 10%. You're going to charge them $400 if you charge 20%. And if they have a larger spend, $10,000, you're going to charge them a flat rate percentage of that. So 10 to 20% is the typical range you see for a percentage of ad spend as a pricing model. Some of the challenges with a pricing model like that is it doesn't really work well for a small ad spend. So that's where I talked about flat rate plus. So maybe people say we have a minimum of $300. So they're going to charge you $300. Once you get up above $3,000 in ad spend, maybe they'll kick into their percentage, something like that. So flat rate plus, or some people will say we're going to charge you $300 plus 10% of your ad spend. So there's some variations on the ad spend model, but it's a very popular one. It's one that we don't use that often, particularly with our white label clients, but we do use it with our larger clients. People that are spending $20,000 plus a month on Google Ads. And one of the reasons that we do that is that it gives you the flexibility at that point to do whatever needs to be done. Usually if someone's spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month on Google Ads, they need search, they need remarketing, they need YouTube, they need, a plethora of stuff, and they need a lot of work. So rather than nickel dime the client with, oh, you're going to add a YouTube campaign, we need to, charge you another $199 a month. We just cover it all in that percentage of ad spend. But percentage of ad spend is a very standard approach. One of the reasons that I don't like it from sorry, I got to close something on here. One of the reasons that I don't like it from a client perspective is it sort of encourages us to spend more, because the more you spend, the more we get paid. I actually have backed off clients, that were spending on like international campaigns that didn't work, and we kind of cut our own rates by saying we should disable those campaigns. And we've done that just recently, as a matter of fact, with some of our percentage of ad spend clients. And it's only a few very large budgets. So, and another approach is very standard, and it's similar to the one we use. And I'm going to go through the exact pricing model that we use for our white label clients when I'm at the end of this video. But a very popular pricing model is a flat rate tiered pricing model. So what I mean flat rate tiered is they're saying you're going to get a search campaign for $500 a month. And that covers an ad spend of up to some, $3,000. If you get over $3,000 or you start to add other types of campaigns, then we're going to tier that. We're going to add, a monthly charge for it, or we're going to add an additional $200 a month, or we're going to charge an additional X dollars a month for every additional $1,000 you spend. So that's a tiered pricing model, and it's very similar to the one that we use. Now, the one advantage to huge advantage to a fixed fee pricing model is that you bill in advance. Everything that we do, we bill in advance. We don't do accounts receivable. I've run businesses before. Accounts receivable sucks. For one thing, you're waiting for checks. For another thing, or checks or credit card payments. Another thing, you're chasing money, and you're always going to lose some revenue because there are some people that just don't pay, and it's not worth taking them to court and chasing them down. So having a prepayment is the ideal method. I wouldn't do anything else. I have to give props to Ed over at ClickSkeek. And if you don't use us, use ClickSkeek, but use us. I like Ed, but I don't like Ed that much. Ed had a really good point on the percentage of ad spend budget. He said you don't charge them on the percentage of the ad spend, you charge them on a percentage of the ad budget. That way you bill in advance. Because ad spend, you don't really know till the end of the month, right? But ad budget, at the beginning of the month. Really smart, Ed, by the way. So there's another situation where you offer a package of services or you have blended services. So you're not just offering PPC, you're offering SEO, you're offering a website, you're offering social media. Then it gets a little trickier because you have to figure out, what percentage of our work is going into, PPC, what percentage of work is going into SEO. The other thing is if you're white labeling some of your work and you're sending out to an agency like Inbound Revenue, I happen to own inboundrevenue.com, check us out, then you can sort of bump up your PPC fees invisibly because they're in this package of services that you're offering. Maybe you're charging $2,500 a month for SEO and PPC and social media, and you throw in a few low cost freebies in there, like keeping your WordPress updated or that sort of thing. So you can cleverly put all your services together into one larger package, and then you don't have to break down your costs service by service. So there's one final method that you have to be extremely careful with and enter into extremely cautiously, and that is a pay per lead model. So if you are doing pay per lead with any of your clients, any of your Google Ads clients, you're only charging them every time you get a qualified lead. So maybe you're charging them $100 a lead. The risk is on you at that point because you're eating the ad spend. Or you could do I suppose there's some people out there do a model where the client pays the ad spend and you get paid, $50 for every lead you generate or something along those lines. I gotta tell you, this is pretty good. I'm gonna keep drinking it. Thanks for watching Drink and Drive Traffic. This is my favorite video podcast for sure. Now I want to get into what our rates are, just to give you an idea. First of all, it's a shameless plug for Inbound Revenue, but it also gives you a sense of how we tier our rates and then what you might be able to charge for PPC at your own agency, whether you outsource it to someone or don't. So our basic package, and we offer a turnkey solution. So it's not just a Google Ads campaign management. We offer a solution of a search campaign, a landing page design and Unbounce, call tracking, lead tracking, optimizations, reporting, communication, everything for one price. And our base rate for that is $449 a month. And that's for an ad spend of under $5,000 as of this date, which is June 10th, 2021 or something like that. If I drink any more of this, I'm not going to know what month it is. So we charge $449 a month. It includes that basic package of services. It's very turnkey. It's what most lead generation companies need. And that $5,000 ad spend covers most of the typical local service business type of need. And then we charge a one-time $300 fee. And that's what we call a setup fee. It sort of covers some of our costs. Because if you watch my other video on what we do to launch a campaign, you can know there's a lot of stuff that goes into launching a campaign. And that $300 doesn't cover it. So first month with us is typically $749, $449 a month after that. We don't require clients to sign a contract. It's month to month. When someone goes over $5,000 in ad spend, we typically tier that $100 for every $2,500 in additional ad spend. So if they're spending more than $5 but less than $7,500 a month, we just add $100 to their monthly fee. Then it becomes $549. And then if they also want to add display, remarketing, YouTube, those are typically just $199 upsell. So it makes it super easy to package. I really recommend the fixed fee tiered approach, because if you talk to someone, you talk to a client, you don't have to write up an extensive proposal about what your costs are going to be. You don't have to figure it out. You know, and we're going to charge you $750 plus $250 for this type of campaign. Boom, it's $1,000 a month. It makes it so easy to sell that I highly recommend you come up with something like that. Having said that, for our larger clients, our larger white label clients who have a big spend Google Ads client, we just do a split on revenue as a percentage of their ad spend. The other things that I wanted to touch on real quickly here is lots of people ask me, well, you're going to charge me $449 a month. What should I mark it up to? Again, it comes down to how much is the client spending. You know, if they're spending $1,000 a month in ad spend, then you probably just want to come in around $750 a month. So you're making $300 every month on that markup over what we're charging you. If the client's spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, or you're blending services with them and you're doing SEO or WordPress work or social media, anything like that, then you can set your fees pretty much as you see fit. Because at that point, you know, no one can do a direct comparison to your fees versus someone else's fees. The last thing I'll say about fees in general is that marketing fees vary widely and wildly depending on whether you're working with a U.S. contractor, an agency, a sole proprietor who's just doing consulting work, the type of agency you're working with. So just like website pricing is somewhere between $500 and $50,000, the pricing varies a little bit inside the PPC space. But I would say that most often you're looking at percentage of ad spend, flat fee with a tiered structure. The last thing I wanted to mention is I highly recommend that your agency do a paid in advance model for all your clients. There is nothing worse than working really hard and not getting paid for it. I'll be honest, about the only thing worse than working really hard for a client and then having to chase them is having an empty wine glass. That may be worse, and I'm going to take care of that problem in just a second here. But it's really important to get that money collected up front. And then, of course, it's super important to do the work. But we're going to assume that you're a trustworthy provider and get that money up front. I've owned businesses in the past that were real world, type of businesses. And, we sent out bills and we waited for checks to arrive. It's not pleasant. And anytime, in my opinion, anytime at all that you spend chasing a client to pay a bill is wasted time. There's no value added to anyone in you spending your time trying to pursue anyone to get them to pay for work that you've provided. So that's my firm recommendation. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about next time on Drink and Drive Traffic, but for sure there's going to be an adult beverage. I really appreciate a couple of things if you guys would do this for me. One is subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate that. Number two, drop any questions or comments you have down below here. And number three, if you have a beverage that you think I should try or drink on here, drop that down below or find me on Facebook. Just get that information to me. I'll get you a damn beverage and I'll drink it. It was good talking to everybody. Talk to you again soon. This is Drink and Drive Traffic with Mark Killing and Inbound Revenue.